Watch out for the hole.
What hole? Watch out for the portable hole. Rock out to the portable hole. Watch out for the portable hole. Rock out to the portable hole.
Welcome to the Portable Hole Podcast. I'm Ryan George, and I'm here with my good friends Justin and Cynic. How you guys doing?
Pretty good. My foot's feeling a lot better. It was actually some of the worst pain I've had in my life. It was so brutal. Ryan, remember when I sent you those pictures of my legs, and it looked like I had been in like a brutal Muay Thai fight?
Oh, from the from the crash, right? Or
from
the
when I crashed
accident.
went slamming. Yeah, that was bad. But I functioned. I went out, I played. But for whatever reason, that happened to my foot, like it just popped out of nowhere, was so much worse. Like it gave me a bit of a, I don't know if it carried with it a fever or just the pain was so intense. Like I was literally moaning. I couldn't help it. The doctor says that it might have been a gout inflammation, and I know that can be pretty painful. It seems weird based on my diet. I don't eat that much beef or pork. I don't really eat any pork, and I don't drink beer. Those are the two biggest influencers of gout, but I guess it's still possible. And there were some other things, but man, I couldn't walk on it. It was so painful, and at one point it was just brutal. And then she gave me, I went to a doctor here. They gave me a steroid shot, and it's gotten better, so I can function. But wow, it's like right. And I have a pretty high pain tolerance. I could take a lot without really complaining. But that was like something else. I don't know. I hope you guys never experience anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, also it's like you can't not be on your feet. It's like you can't.
It's depressing too.
Yeah.
Did your shoes come off in the accident?
When I was on the accident, no, they didn't come off. No.
Was this related to the accident, or
I thought initially it was, and the doctor was like, "Nah," because that would have, if it was a physical injury like a broken bone. By the way, which I went to the emergency room, and they did an infection test, which they couldn't find an infection. Yeah. They did an X-ray, they saw no broken bone, so they thought initially maybe it was a ligament tear or something like that, and the doctor was like, "No," because if that's what it was, it would be localized in one spot. Instead, the pain was spreading out and went to my ankle. There's like, no, it's not a structural issue, or very probably won't be isn't a structural issue. So she says it's probably like gout or something like that, which is weird, but it's possible. My dad had it, so there is some genetic aspects to it, so it's possible that's what it is.
Yeah, my mom and my brother have had it, and in each case it's very painful. So
yeah, not fun.
That you're past it, and not so.
Yeah, well, he's not the first person we've podcast with, Ryan, that suffers from chronic gout.
Yeah, that's right.
We thought we were a gout-free show going forward, but it can always creep in. We're getting older. Those joints are getting older, Ryan.
Yeah, I'm like that would just like ruin like life for me if I had to be debilitated. It's like if it's a shoulder or an arm, like you can at least get around, but yeah, if it's your foot, like I mean, you're screwed.
Well, I'm kind of,
but you got a corporate job. Just have them pay. Just sit home and watch movies and have them pay you.
Yeah, go on. Yeah, to an extent.
Not that I want to turn this into the portable medical hour, but yeah, same thing. About a year ago in DC, decided to walk the monuments at night. I'm watching a lady struggle to get up on the little rise by the George Washington Monument. It's like, oh, that sucks. That's so small, that she's having such a hard time. So we scale it real quick, go up there, walk around. I go to hop down. Well, I don't see that there's about a 3-inch block underneath where I hop down. Catch my ankle on it, on the ground. Ankle swells up. So I ended up walking on it for 2 days. A year later, still not right.
Yeah. That damn body.
Yeah. It's like it does not get any better, and it's like the injuries are worse and the recovery takes longer. So that's what we have to look forward to for the next 30-40 years, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Well, until they replace our bodies.
Right. Well, they're replacing everything, so who knows? We'll talk. Well, I guess nice little segue
Good
into
segue.
right. Good segue into the first story, which is where Justin, you're going to be replaced. So I have either of you guys played with the Suno.ai app at all? This is the AI music app.
I have not.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, so
Yep.
there's a lot of buzz around it, and I played with it a little bit yesterday. And it's like, I mean, it's just like any of the other AI, prompt based, programs. Like you prompt it, so like you prompt it on, like, you can say, write me a song about whatever in a genre. So I asked it to write me a country song, about a guy falling into a portable hole, and it wrote a song that, if it, like, just like it does with a lot of the other stuff, it's generic. And technically it's not brilliant, but if you just played that song for me, I would have just thought, okay, that's a random, poppy country song. Like it,
Yeah.
and I did try, though. I was like, okay, I did the same thing, but in the style of Rage Against the Machine, and it was like an emo rock thing. So it's like, it's obviously it's going to be based on what its data sets are, and probably what's more popular is going to get. It'll be more accurate with more popular things, and less the more specific you get, or the more obscure or esoteric you get. But it was it's still it's crazy that it can come up with that out of whole cloth. And it's scary, because, like, yeah, it may not be great now, but what's it gonna be in 5 years?
It will. No, it is great now. That's great.
Yeah, it's
like, just
it's
imagine what it is.
Yeah.
Because I've been seeing a lot of advertisements for things like Replica and Kendroid, and I downloaded Kendroid and tried the free portion of it. And all right, well, let's make Ryan. What do I know about Ryan? I throw it in there, and the response time is instant, and it does pick up, some of the characteristics, and you could have a full conversation like you're texting with someone. So it's not just, we can't just say, oh, well, it's an infant stage. It's evolved.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, even if it's in the infant stage, the two parts are, one is the speed at which these things are getting better and developing is insane.
Yeah.
And if this is the infant stage, like, I don't want to know what the I mean, we've talked about this. We did a whole episode on AI, and we've talked about it several times. In the brief time that we've been doing this podcast, and like it's just like, I don't think it's not hype like this stuff. It really needs, like, the government's. They're going to have to step in, otherwise, like, there are going to be major changes to our society. It's going to upend society down the road.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, just, like, anything that's not, and anything that's not manual labor, to me, it's like you're screwed.
Well, there's
true.
a chilling video with Joe Rogan interviewing Elon Musk, and Elon's being all dramatic, and he's like, I told them for a long time that they needed to slow down AI. It needed to be regulated. And Joe Rogan's like, and they're not doing it, are they? No.
I mean, well, I don't know that I don't agree with Elon on a lot of stuff, but I kind of do agree with that. Like, I think
in this instance, he might be right on.
Yeah, I mean, just because, like, it's like that. If it goes unchecked now, what happens when this stuff is that powerful? That I mean, it already is. Like, at the end of the day, okay, right at this moment, if I'm any kind of company or whatever, I don't need to hire people to write music for me anymore. I don't need to hire graphic designers anymore. I could, using some, certain apps, I can pretty much, I don't even need to learn Photoshop or any of that stuff anymore. I don't need to hire copywriters, or all I need is somebody to go and edit whatever I put into ChatGPT. It's like, it is like, you're getting to a point where, like, all these jobs, these creative jobs are going to be, killed. And it's I read something, or was listening to something, or I forget where, but it's kind of like that. It's the opposite of the way it should have been. Like, AI should be doing menial jobs,
that's what I was telling you,
right? But not the creative, like it should be doing the menial jobs so we can be, and it's the exact opposite. It's killing all the creative jobs. Funny. And yeah, it's like, it's not as good, as something that you can write, but
yet
I don't need that. And yeah, and yet, and what happens when it gets to that point where it can create, unique, interesting song? I mean, it's really, I don't know. It's like, if somebody who uses it, it's a little scary.
Well, so it's here's the thing. It's not going to replace all jobs of that nature, but it's going to replace all but one. So basically, you're not going to need like if you need to score a film, you don't need a bunch of people doing the music. You need one who can just say, who has the good ear and the taste to do it, right? And you don't need a million people to code. You don't like for complex apps and stuff. A lot of people coding, a lot of people programming. You need one or two to make sure it's going the right direction. Specifically for music, you have to realize the different jobs that it's going to replace, right? So it can replace songwriters for the most part, right? It can replace mixing engineers. Things like that are going to be some of the first to go, right? Someone who is very technically based. You can have a mixing program that's like, mix my song, and it can go from a bunch of different styles, and then you can prompt it to do it a little differently and say, bring this out more, bring that out more. Done. All mixing engineers are now obsolete. Then you can have it. The first easiest musician to replace is a drummer, and they already have AI drummer apps, which I use, and now they're going to get better. Right. Something like a guitar is a harder instrument to emulate, but not that hard once it gets really good at it. So then you're going to replace all studio musicians, right? And you make it good. Then you're going to replace everything, and it's very easy. And for that reason, professionally, I'm getting out of music now. I heard that thing. I'm like, well, it's time to go. So I'll still do it. As part of a creative overall content based. So look, the idea is, so who are the people in music or a creative that can make money off of it? Right. Well, you're going to have to, like, artists, like content providers, people like humans that fans want to watch. Right? In
live
a live
music
element
makes sense.
Live music can't, or some sort of live element can't be completely replaced.
No.
So that's going to, that'll be
say
something.
that though. But then we look at these raves where there is no live music being played, and people are losing their mind, and they're drawing hundreds of thousands of people
for that sort of thing. For like certain dance music, electronic music. I think there will always be a connection where people will want to see people live.
Well,
so that is sort of safe, but
it's like, I kind of like. Well, I kind of find like it's kind of with I found with personal training, even though I don't like, I'm more in a management like position now where I still do some training, but I don't. But I know people will say, oh well, AI is going to get rid of trainers because people can just use an app, and I think that's partially true, but not quite, because at the end of the day, when it comes to like training, for most people, it's not about the knowledge that the trainer has. It's that the trainer's there. It's the accountability. It's the motivation. Being a babysitter, therapist. Like your trainer. A lot of times, you're not like you're the on the list of things that you are to that person. Like the guy that designs their workout is like lower on that list as far as the things that they need. So as far as like if you want to work out, like for the last 30 years, you can pretty much find a way that in a book or online or an app or whatever. And obviously the apps get more advanced and they give you more personalized things. But I think something like that, you still want a person. So it's the same kind of thing. Like if I go to New Orleans, right? Like I'm going to want to see live music, right? So you're going to still have that space, but the space of being like a studio musician or so, a lot of artists now, like they're not going to need studio musicians because they can just have AI play this stuff and play it.
It was hard enough as one as it is,
but, right? Yeah. So I mean, that's the issue, right? And then
people to compose, people to do anything, like it's, it's tough. Yeah.
It makes you wonder though, will live music age out? Like, because if you look at these festivals, there are people that a generation or so behind us, and the music is getting more and more popular. Most of rap doesn't contain actual instruments. Will live music go away at some point?
That's a good point. I don't think it'll ever go away. But maybe there's a space where it's more like classical music is to us, right? Like in our in our world, right? It's not it is a thing that people go to, right? People still are fans of it, but it's not the popular thing. It's not mainstream, and it's something that you get dressed up and spend a lot of money to go see, right? Like for so maybe that's where it's headed. It's
I don't. It may be where it's headed. I don't know. Based on, like, I'm in Nashville, and people very much so enjoy going out and seeing live music, seeing people work together. I don't think that aspect is in, because it's in. Here's the thing, because it's inexperience.
Yeah, no,
right.
Fair.
It's something you do as as people enjoy as an experience, and that's what it is. It's like live content now, right? It's all about content. Well, now this becomes live content.
Yeah.
So yeah, look, humans will evolve. We'll find a way to make do, but yeah, it's sort of a rough reality.
Yeah.
And as I've been saying for a long time, Judgment Day is coming. I have much bigger concerns than being replaced as a musician. My concern is being slaughtered by Terminators. So, which, if you don't think it's a real idea,
we've had a good run.
Yeah.
But I got to ask, Justin, now that you're closing the door on your music career, is the next stop OnlyFans? Because I'll be there. I'll be subscribing.
So, no, because that'll phase out too, because what's going to happen is there will be some very, very good AI porn where basically you'll be able to input either a favorite actress or actor or whoever it is you're into, and say, and then put on like a virtual VR helmet and type in what you want, and you'll be able to do some really whatever you want type of VR porn, and it's going to look just like it'll basically be just like watching a movie, and who knows, right? It's going to be
away.
well, really, how far away do you think that is?
I mean,
I don't think it's that far away.
Let's look at Apple just released their own headset, right?
Yeah.
And it was supposed to be like Brian's glasses, and it was still a VR headset.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they it's still a ways away.
It's getting there. Like the Apple, from what I understand, I know a guy who has it. It's great. It's probably the best of the VR headsets. And I have like the Oculus or the Meta Quest, and it's an awesome experience, but it's still not replacing like our everyday life yet. And now maybe it's a few years away, but what?
Few years away, yeah.
But yeah, like, I think you're right though. We're probably not too far from being able to like type in, here's what I want for my porn, and then it gives you that, and it looks like you're real people, and it's So I mean, yeah, maybe you start your OnlyFans career now so that you can milk a solid 2 years out of it. But,
yeah.
All right.
I'll be milking a solid 2 years out of it too, Ryan.
Yeah, that's poor choice of words. All right. So next story. This is a very New York centric episode, so I apologize to people who are not in New
that
York.
reminds me. I'll have to talk about something later, so thanks for reminding me.
Okay. Well, so I guess the first of our two New York centric stories. One is it was a devastating news as Knicks fans today, as our second best player, all-star and all-NBA player, Julius Randle, is out for the year. And what sucks, and why it's newsworthy for us, is like we've been Knicks fans. I don't know, Cynic, how big of a basketball fan you are, but like we've been Knicks fans since we were kids. They, in '93, they, went to the finals. They had a finals run in '99, but since then, like the Knicks have just sucked. They've been terribly managed. They've just gone from one bad move after another for the last 20 years, 25 years almost. And over the last couple of years, like there's been a change, and they actually have been able to field a decent team. And if by the end of January this year, they made they made a couple important trades. This looked like a team that like could make a run. I think everybody was excited. And then our second and third best players injured. And now we find out that Randall's out for the year, which pretty much is a devastating loss for the Knicks, because again, they were a team that we had high hopes for and looked great when the entire team was healthy and on the floor. So it's like the curse of being like a Knicks fan.
Yeah, it's I can't remember an injury that has been has been so devastating, especially in basketball, because it's a game of your stars, right? Your stars are most important. Your role players are important too, but it's not like a baseball team where you have a lot of players, and if your star player goes down, you can still win. Or I guess in football, if your quarterback goes down, you're screwed. But even we've seen it in football where great teams, their star quarterback goes down and they still win. You can't do that in basketball. If you lose your star player, you're done.
Well,
that's it.
Actually,
like, for the most
funny
part,
that the one counter example is the last time the Knicks made the finals. Right, Patrick Ewing was injured, and they made a run.
Very, very weak. Very, very weak.
Granted,
East.
he was older, and they had enough, but yeah, it's rough. I think the one thing I will say
it's just rough
is I actually think it's better, not better, but they wouldn't. If you were to say, okay, we're going to lose either, and we don't know if OG Anunoby will be back, but if you lose him or Randall, I would actually say we're better off with OG Anunoby in the lineup because of his defense and just how he changes the game.
Well, you just need that second score, second option. Like it's just sad because look, are they good enough to beat the Celtics?
Probably not.
Maybe not. Probably not. But we're robbed of a potentially great series.
Yeah.
It's like, and I want to watch. Look, did I think they were going to win? Probably not. But there was the hope that they could have, and hope is what what you need. And it was going to be very entertaining. It was going to be a very entertaining series, either them against the Bucks or the Celtics, and we're robbed of it. Like, look, will they probably get past the first round? Yeah. Will they have a competitive series against whoever they play? Probably, but. Yeah. It's a very empty feeling. Yeah. So we're all it just stinks. It's not fun.
Well, the counter to that is, as a Mets fan, you should know that Edwin Diaz destroyed the Mets season last year by getting hurt during the World Baseball Classic. And I think that was more of a devastating loss only because they had a championship team. They floored a championship team. You have a bunch of middle guys, and you're playing well. Brunson's playing well. Randall was playing well, but the Knicks haven't won a championship since 1973. That's longer than I've been alive. There was a group of 3 superstars that could have came to the Knicks. They could have cleared the just a few years ago. And now, mind you, it didn't work out where they went, but they headed across town to Brooklyn. As a Knicks fan, a friend of mine that says all the time, the Knicks are now irrelevant. They've been irrelevant for a long time, and they're probably going to stay irrelevant until they get new ownership.
Well, no, I would say it's a little. I would push back on that a little bit. I think yes, do they need new ownership? Yes, but the Knicks, I think, in the last year or 2 years, have become relevant. Because they've been managed well.
They've become a third place team, is what they've become.
Yeah, but they've been managed well, and so I think the one hopeful thing is they have a deep team, they have a strong core, and a team now that people want to come to. So whereas a few years ago, superstars did not want to come here, the Knicks are in a position now where they are one disgruntled superstar away from being a championship contender. And so I do think that that's the difference is, I think that they can bring in those free agents that maybe they couldn't, and who knows, maybe, who knows what decisions they'll make. They've got a stockpile of draft picks. They've got a young core. They've got, all-star
and they have the money.
players,
they got cap space.
and they have money. So I think there's some hope. It's disappointing because I think we all got excited that this year's going to be an exciting year. But at the end of the day, this is a 3-4.
We just wanted to enjoy it.
This is a 3-4 year project.
They made a big move. They made a couple big moves in its respect, but the East still isn't the West in basketball. Not that I'm a super knowledgeable basketball guy, but the East still isn't the West, and they're still looking up at the Celtics and the Bucks and the Cavs. I mean, so they still have a ways to go.
I don't think not the Cavs.
I think they're better. I think they're better than the Bucks.
Yeah.
If they were on full strength,
fully healthy,
they're definitely better. But they're second place if they had been fully healthy for most of the season. It's like think about the Celtics. Take away 3 of their 4 best players. What are they like? It's the same thing. Any team.
Too deep down the rabbit hole, but their number 1s and number 2s don't compare. Brunson and Randall don't compare to Giannis and Lillard.
I
disagree. I think that maybe I think Brunson is. Brunson's playing MVP.
As a pair, no, but yeah, Brunson's playing like one of the best players. Like he's superstar level playing right now and carrying it. And yeah, like he's basically carried a team on his back that has been missing 3 of their 4 starters or 3 of their 5 starters. So I would say
I think he's up there with them.
Yeah,
we can say that, like all New York teams, all we ever have to say is better luck next year.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's
it.
We win nothing anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
our second New
Oh,
York
the Rangers
base-
are pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're decent.
So
They got a big goon beating everybody up, so that makes me happy.
Yeah.
So the second of New York-based stories is: have you heard about the spate of women getting punched randomly in New York?
Yeah,
No.
I did hear about that.
So there's been a recent spate over the last few weeks of and that's part is some people reporting it like on social media, so we can't don't know how true a lot of it is, but there have been several legitimate incidents of women just randomly getting punched in the streets of New York. Generally, they're on their cell phones and like looking down or texting, whatever, and just random people just punching them. And there have been at least 2 or 3 arrests. A couple have been caught like on security camera footage, but like it's a legitimate thing that's been happening recently. It's crazy because it's like it's frustrating things like this because it's like it just feeds into that narrative that like New York's this crime-ridden hellhole, which it's not. But that becomes the big story.
When you get people being pushed in front of subways and shit, it does give you pause.
Well, I mean, the problem is like the macro versus the micro. So the thing is like if you look at the data, like crime is down. It's down compared to last year. It's trending downwards. It's been trending down for 2 decades. But you still have those incidents. So it's kind of more where your focus is. Like, and that's not to diminish the things that do happen, but it's also like it isn't. It's like it's not this crime-ridden hellhole, but it's a big city, and so those things are going to happen in any big city. It's just what gets amplified and what doesn't get amplified.
The fact of the matter is there's still an incredible amount of misogyny, right, in the world, and there's been a rise of like red pill, black pill stuff all over the internet, and this sort of there's this notion that's been spreading out that no, that women are taking over, they're replacing men. Right now, women have options. They have too many options. They can date. Men are the victims. Men are the victims. And this is a pervasive thought. And I do believe that it's given rise to this thing of this violence against women. Like, granted, there's always been violence against women, but usually it's under, for either like a random attack for like a sexual assault, but mostly domestic violence, which is traditionally been the most common kind. But something like this, it feels like it's coming from this misogynistic, bitterness towards women for men that feel like they've been slighted. It feels that way. That would be my sense. And right now, and I know I've looked at some of the people that have been arrested. Some of them don't look too right in the head, but as we know, people that are often not right in the head read things and they get very influenced by it. And then of course, once one does it, you start to see copycat stuff going on. And yeah, it's sickening. And I've been saying it for a while. There's only a matter of time before, and we've already started seeing a little bit of it, where you're going to get some vigilantism, right? The carry permits for firearms have increased like 20,000% or something in New York, and of course they're dragging their feet. But when you start stuffing like this, you're going to see a response. It's just going to happen. So I don't know. It's pretty sad.
But how many of these instances have actually happened that we know for sure?
That's the problem.
I mean, we've gone through this before. Remember the years and years ago, it was the knockout game.
Yeah.
Random hooligans were knocking people out and during and post COVID or during COVID, it was assaults on Asians are up.
Yeah.
And it's just the media glorifying, which was a number probably close to the norm anyway.
Yeah.
So now as women are in the spotlight because of the things that are taking place, anything against them is going to be magnified 1,000 times over.
Yeah.
Not
There's
that
an element
I'm
of
preferencing by saying that I don't agree with assaulting anybody, let alone females, because I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea. I'm just saying that it's probably being blown out of proportion even though one is too many.
Yeah, no, that you're absolutely right. Like, how is it? What is it? Where is it compared to the is it just background? Is it just background noise that's being amplified, or is it a real legitimate thing that's happening? And I think that's a fair point. Like, we don't know, but that's what happens is the media will take hold of something, and like I said, like like with the crime thing in New York, it's like if the media takes hold of it, so a lot of times that's what's going to get views. And then it's funny how wherever I travel, people, it's like, oh wow, how's New York? I hear it's not safe. It's like, no, it's perfectly fine. It's like, yeah, it's a big city, stuff happens, but like
we have a badass reputation, and it precedes us.
Yeah, I guess, but but it's like I grew up in New York in the '80s, so we're good. Perfectly happy with the city right now. So yeah. All right, so we speaking of things that will trigger, I guess, weak-minded men. So they announced a Fantastic Four movie. It's been a big deal because Marvel has it. Fox tried twice, took 2 swings at it, and failed, pretty much both times. And they just announced that there's Silver Surfer in this will be played by Julia Garner, who's going to be playing the Shah Bell version of Silver Surfer. I'm not sure if I pronounced that wrong. I'm not very familiar with that version of Silver Surfer, but we're getting a female Silver Surfer. I'm sure people are not going to be upset with that, right, Cynic?
I mean, they're going to spin it that it's from source material and it's been in comic books, which probably 80% of people that go to Marvel movies don't read comics. They just love Marvel movies, but they'll make that excuse that it came from somewhere. And it's just it'll be another reason for people to be upset about the movie. They've already pulled the John Krasinski card, which aggravated the shit out of me to begin with. We can't use them, we're going younger. And then they turn around and they cast Pedro Pascal. So it's like, which I thought you were going younger with it. Yeah. But yeah, I think I don't give a shit about the I didn't even know the Silver Surfer really had a gender. Yeah. I mean, the dude's silver. You're not seeing anything on him. Yeah. But I just think it's just it'll be another reason to people try to just pull another block out of Marvel's tower. Yeah,
and that's I think the thing for me is my first thought was, oh shit, people are going to be upset. And that's frustrating because it's like if you make good movies, I don't care who you cast. Maybe there's a good story, whatever the case is, but it's annoying even for me that my first reaction is, oh great, my reaction is, whoa crap, what are people's reactions going to be? And again, at the end of the day, I think the problem is like, if the movie does well, then no one's going to care. Everyone's going to go see the Fantastic Four if it's a good movie, everyone's going to go out to see it, no one's going to say anything. If it's a bad movie, then they're going to say, oh, see, this is why Disney woke Disney and they're screwing everything up. And that becomes, the issue. And I don't know how you get around that, because you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. But that's kind of the world we live in right now, is that you get people reacting to things like that. And who knows?
So what are the chances that Disney is like, oh, well, if we cast the female Silver Surfer, that'll get people talking, and no publicity is bad publicity and controversy is good. So like the more people that talk about it, do you think that ever factors in? Do you think they say, let's play these cards up just to trigger people because it makes more of a buzz?
Obviously Disney's had its own issues. There was like kind of a shareholder almost takeover recently. They had their issues with DeSantis, and they've gotten a lot of blowback for trying to, really focus on diversity and inclusion in a lot of the movies. And to me, sometimes I think it's superficial and it's just done so that they can say they did it. And other times I think they do a decent job with it. But I don't know from their perspective if that's the idea. Because I think and the problem right now is the Marvel movies and shows are not doing as well as they used to. And so I don't know that they're in a position to just say, oh, well, no publicity is bad publicity. I think they want to keep people in. I do appreciate that they're not backing down to the kind of loud people who are screaming, oh, woke, it's too woke, and why do you have the diversity or whatever. Like I'm glad that they're not bowing to that. So that's a good thing to me, right? And so now it's just like, all right, make good movies. Because my issues with any of it has always been like, is it a good or a bad film? Like, like the Marvels, I wanted to like that movie. I would love a movie with a diverse cast that's focused on female heroes. Like that's fine. We have so many male-driven heroes, right? It doesn't matter. Like that's fine, but it sucked. It was a bad movie, and then that feeds into the narrative of the people that are like, oh, see, look, see, this is why Disney's going, it's terrible because they're focused on diversity. It's like, no, it's not that. It's just it was a bad movie, and so that's the thing. It's like just put out good stuff, and I'm glad that they are kind of not bowing or cowing to people. You're gonna say something, Sin?
Yeah, I was gonna say that if this was Eternals 2 that they did it in, Justin, I would agree with you that maybe they're doing it for the publicity, but there's so much interest and there's so much lore behind the Fantastic Four. They don't need it. I feel like it probably costs them more than they gain with the situation.
Yeah.
You lose those fringe types that have finally had enough and throw their hands up and march off and protest because a character has boobs. I don't know. I don't quite understand it myself. It's never bothered me.
Yeah.
I just think that, with the Fantastic Four, you don't need to do that because they're big enough. This group, as far as comics go, is right up there with the Avengers as far as popularity, as far as people knowing who they are, despite the failed attempts at other movies.
Yeah. So I will say, like, I was a fan of Silver Surfer as a kid in the comics. So like I was hoping to see
I didn't get
Silver Surfer. Yeah.
I didn't get it.
I think we all just thought he looked. I mean, the reality is like he just looked cool, right? Like. You just look badass with
I can say that in the Marvel and the Fantastic Four movies, he's the one thing that did kind of work, like visually, like he did look cool in the movies. Like it was a good transference from comic book to movie. But as far as the character, I never got it.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, and then our final last news story we'll talk about today is the UFC. It kind of came out really under the radar, but UFC had a settlement, or I should say the parent company TKO reached a $335 million settlement regarding antitrust lawsuits brought in by a number of fighters. So on the surface, like the settlement sounds good, right? It's a lot of money, but then you find out like it's tax deductible. And when you spread it out, like among fighters, it's not really going to be that much.
The lawyers and
exactly. After legal fees and spreading it out, it's not all that much. And like at the end of the day, like for a company worth billions of dollars, like again, $335 million tax deductible. Like I don't know, that this is going to put a dent in like the business practices that are not great on the side of the UFC.
Yeah. So you go.
No, go ahead, Justin.
I mean, the fact is that until fighters can unionize, there's not this will continue. That's that's it. Like they're there's no protection for them, and no owner, no company wants their employees to unionize. It just doesn't. It never benefits the people at the top, and it almost always benefits the the people that are working. And it's funny that the people that are working are also the product. So that's just how I feel. And good luck. There would be many battles, until they're allowed to do that, and it's just going to be almost impossible. So
I mean, unfortunately, I don't see UFC fighters as they are fighting for a union as much as they need it. But you're going to say, Senate?
But this is the problem, right? It's no longer 5,000 people in a bingo hall. It's 45, 50,000 people in an arena, and you still got guys fighting for 5 and 5.
Yeah.
And Dana White now is taking the stance where, well, go start your own fighters league and pay them what you want. And that's not the point. The point is they're bringing in millions of dollars every single event, and sometimes tens of millions just on the gate alone, not even counting pay-per-view that we don't have access to. This could be spread out a little bit more for most fighters who can only fight 2 to 3 times a year. And, the maximum they're going to make is $30,000 doing it. Yeah. And then that's after all the time, the training and the injury risk and the CTE that goes along with it. It's ridiculous. But this was the best and probably last chance to get that union stuff done. And, about 1,500 fighters walked away with probably $50,000 a piece if they're lucky. Yeah. It's not life-changing money.
Yeah, exactly. And they'll just kind of go back to business as usual. Yeah.
And it's like the thing is you can't, you're just not going to get the fighters to strike. Yeah. Like they're just not, right. Most of them are struggling and they need to, a lot of them are supporting families, and this is their dream, and it's just you're not gonna, and it's international too. So there's just no way you're gonna get all the fighters to say, well, bring in replacements.
The only hope,
get the second tier guys.
The one hope is if the government were to really go after, the UFC and the WWE, which are under the same umbrella, as far as the independent contractor status of the fighters. Because at the end of the day, I think that's the real issue, where both companies, are doing wrong by their fighters, right? Or wrestlers or fighters, whatever, right? Like they're all classified as independent contractors, but like they're not. They're for all intents and purposes, like they're not independent contractors. They only work for those companies. They control how they interact with the media, how they use their social media, where they go, how they work, their time, their schedule, all that stuff is controlled. So the reality is that even though they try to skirt by just calling them independent contractors, they're not. And so I think that at some point, someone will go after them for that, and that's the only point where we will really see like legitimate change, because I think that's the issue.
Well, have you guys had the pleasure of seeing Nate the Train yet?
What?
Nate the Train is an up-and-coming fighter with huge knockout power, and he's like Rocky. He usually starts losing the fight and then figures out a way to win.
Okay.
But he's like a South Park parody of a fighter.
Okay.
Like, "Let's go" is after every other sentence when he screams his interviews. And as long as we have Nate the Train out there, you're never going to be able to get a union together, because he'll fight for free.
Exactly.
It's just the way it's going to happen.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's sad because you have these guys that are like, that they're professional athletes. Like they're, and I do, do I think professional athletes need to make billions of dollars, or $500 million or $250 million? Probably not. But like these guys are giving their body, giving up a lot of their, sacrificing their bodies for this sport. And so then after you finish, to have to just go back into the regular world without some kind of nest egg is insane. Or, a lot of these guys that, it's like after they pay, if you're making 10 and 10, by the time you're done paying your gym fees, like you come away with nothing. Like it's crazy that you can spend
they're not earning what they're worth.
No, not at all. Absolutely not. Especially not worth when you could. So if you look at like the UFC's revenues compared to what they pay their athletes, it's like pennies compared to like what all the other major sports, do. But again, it's on the fighters to, rally together and say, no, we're going to take a stand. And that, a couple guys have tried and they just, there's not the will, I think, for them to do that. And it's on them, I guess.
Well, the problem is they try after they're done with their careers when they're no longer relevant.
Exactly.
And they don't have the platform to speak on it anymore.
Yeah.
So, but it's the same. I mean, even if you have a union to protect you, there was 2 Oakland A's that one of them, which was the best player in the team, hitting 400. They sent him down because he was wearing, anti-ownership gear to the stadium.
Really? So
you're not even protected with a union.
Yeah, that's crazy. All right, so let's get to. So I guess we'll do quickly. Are you guys Cynic? You watching anything this last week? Anything interesting that you'd recommend?
This last week. No, really, honestly, because of baseball.
Okay.
I've been tuned into baseball nonstop, and the games have been fantastic. The season's going well. Shohei finally hit a home run last night, which I was super happy about. So baseball's kind of been my primary focus.
How about you, Justin?
So basically how many millions of dollars is he getting paid for a home run per home run?
That's a good question. I don't know if I've seen it broken down like that, but it has to be. Right. It has to be at least $500,000 a game, I would think.
Yeah, it's something insane.
I started watching the show that Cynic recommended, New York Homicide. So going back to that idea, I thought it's pretty good. My issue with the show is that it's a half an hour show stretched out to 48 minutes. Like there's a lot of drag out and a lot, obviously so they can sneak in more ads. They throw a lot of red herrings. It's clearly done in a way that makes the episodes longer than they really need to be. So it gets a little tiresome where they just like repeat stuff and things go nowhere. And they love to try to throw in whenever there's a red herring, they love to throw that in. But besides that, the show is good. There's some interesting episodes, and I've been enjoying watching it.
So,
well, I mean, show me a documentary that doesn't do that, and I'll promote it till the end of time. Making a Murder was like one of the best documentaries ever, but they drug the shit out of that.
Yeah.
So I'll share one thing I've been watching. It's called. It's actually relevant to our interests. It's called The Power of Film. It's like a documentary series on Max, and it's really interesting. It's a guy named, I think, Howard Suber, who just goes through a lot of different movies, popular movies, and kind of just different aspects of movie making and storytelling, and what makes it interesting, and what makes us identify with characters, what makes stories compelling. It's a really good series just on film and like how film works and why film works and why certain things work, why things don't. It covers a lot of the biggest movies, in the most the highest, the movies that we hold in the highest regards. And he does just a really good job of kind of explaining it to us. It's like almost like you're taking like a film course. So worth watching. It's kind of an easy watch, and again goes over a lot of things that are well within like our wheelhouse, and goes pretty in depth. So definitely worth watching if you're like a film fan. As we all are. So anyway, let's get to our first review. So we got two reviews. X-Men 97. We'll talk about. So we've all, I think, Cynic and I are 2 episodes in. Justin, you're 1 episode or 3 episodes in. We'll do kind of a mini review of that and talk about whether or not we recommend moving forward, and then we'll get into talking about the Iron Claw, which I'm really interested in discussing with you guys. So first, we'll start off with X-Men. So X-Men 97 is a kind of reboot / extension of the X-Men series from the 90s. So were both of you guys fans of the 90s X-Men series?
I was.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So I guess my first question is just watching, this first episode, we'll stay away from major spoilers. The very beginning is Professor X is dead, right? Like that's, that from the beginning. So it's not a spoiler, but he's dead.
Even the trailer shows it.
Exactly. Yeah. And basically you have the X-Men dealing with the aftermath, and there are some really interesting twists that we won't spoil. But did you feel like, for you, did this feel like a genuine, like an extension of the old show? Did it feel like a reboot? Like, what were your thoughts just on how this compared to the original, like, 90s series? Cynic.
I mean, I think it holds up there. Some of the animation's different.
Yeah.
And I know people had a problem with they reduced the size of Rogue's butt and the definition, which, I guess ruined some lives, because I saw more of that on the internet rather than the content of the actual show. Yeah. But I mean, as far as the story, as far as them bringing back the voice actors, as far as the theme being the same, I mean, it all checks out. We're going, it seems like, a different direction in the story, which was good, because I didn't want a reboot.
Yeah.
You can always just fire back up the original X-Men if you want that. So yeah, I mean, I thought it was all good. I mean, the first episode felt like it dragged a little bit, but the second episode was good.
Yeah. What do you think, Justin? Did you feel like did you like the direction it was taking, after, like basically being an extension of the old series?
Absolutely. Like, I loved it. I think that it's a worthy continuation. It's cleaner, right? There's it's really well produced. The animation is great. The writing is great. It stays somewhat true to the original cartoon, but then veers off with new ideas, new stories, and stuff like that. So I like it. They modernize it a little bit.
Yeah, I think
obviously
they did a good job with that.
They bring in, but not overboard.
Yeah. Well,
it's cool, like the way they show like Gambit's character when he's not in costume.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So they develop certain aspects of it. I liked it. I think that it's very worthy, and I think it's really well done and put together.
So, question: did you mark out when you heard the theme song, for the first time again? And B, would that be on your list of favorite 90s theme songs?
No, it's decent. It's not great. I like the way they did it. It works for the show. It works for the show. I think that it's good. I think by itself is not a great theme, but I think it works in context. But I will say the overall music for the show is really good. I forgot there was the 2 brothers that do it. It's really good, well composed music. It fits perfectly, and also the animation is really excellent, right? And they go in, if you watch further down, they go into like the fantasy aspects of it because, and it's really good. Like a lot of, how comic books go into these sort of fantasy segments within the comic where it goes, so to different places. They do it really well where it doesn't go so far out that you're like, well, what's going on here? And it's very tasteful, and the animation is really, really good. So I'm very pleased with it.
So, Cynic, this is a little the the original series was made for kids or teenagers. And does this one feel more like it's made for the adults that were teenagers?
We're starting the series off with Jean Grey knocked up. I don't think they would have allowed that back in the day.
Yeah,
so it's gotten a little more adult.
Yeah.
And Wolverine's need to be around Jean is a little lustful, more so than I felt like in the old cartoon. So a little bit. I mean, I think they adulted it up a little bit.
Definitely did.
I showed it to
it's violent.
My wife. Yeah, that too. Showed it to my wife. She just wasn't getting it, but she didn't watch the original either.
Yeah.
So to pull somebody straight into it didn't work out for me, but might work out for others. But I felt like there was some adult tones to the show.
Yeah, and do you feel like did you like the fact that I think the show kind of is working on like almost redeeming Cyclops as a character? I feel like he's been beaten down so much in the movies that it seems
it just seems like Cyclops is the Aquaman of Marvel. You know what I mean? Like no respect whatsoever. Almost cuckolded in his own relationship. Not respected even though he's supposed to be the team leader.
Yeah.
So I think they are really trying hard, and I mean, I think he's a pretty excellent character. If you stand next to Wolverine, you're always going to look bad.
Yeah.
Wolverine is a very minor character. That was one thing that surprised me so far. Yes, but he is the most popular X-Men and one of the most popular Marvel characters, period. And he's not played a big role so far. I'm curious as to why they're doing that.
Makes sense because
they want to
he has presence, right? So as a character, like when he's there, he makes us he's there. But we've also gotten so much Wolverine that do we need that much more? Now, I guess the question for you. So obviously won't go into spoilers, but there is a major twist that we get at the end of episode 1 that I'm sure is going to be what a lot of this season is focused on. And what were your thoughts on that? Did that did that shock you? Did it take you out of it? How did you feel about that twist, Justin?
Interesting. I had no problem with it. And then when you see where it goes in episode 3, it makes sense. And the way they use it and the way they spin it, episode 3 gets pretty good. So no problem with any way that they're telling the stories and stuff like that. So it's all working.
How about you, Cynic?
Well, mute the show for about the next 15 seconds, but they kind of did the first thing that in First Class too, which I just recently watched again in towards the end of the movie. It was almost kind of like the same thing where people were given a choice to make. And so it was nothing new, but I think it brings an interesting spin to the show.
Yeah, I definitely like it. I think it gives the story some momentum. And really connects all the characters, right? There's definitely they do a good job, I think, of kind of bringing everyone into the fold and making it kind of interesting. So now, Justin, you kept in our little text chain mentioning how you were going to call it woke men. So why don't you talk about this?
Yeah, I mean,
how do you feel about the controversy? Obviously, of course, there's some controversy about the show being too woke. As we get that all the time. But
so okay, here's the thing. They were making a big deal about Morph being non-binary. It's okay. He's a morphing character. To me is the least of it. But what more so is quote unquote woke about it is the content. Is literally the way that they throw it in. There's one scene where Jubilee is talking to a new mutant, and she's literally she's there saying, "Oh, your parents don't know yet." And stuff like that. And it's look, the X-Men is the first woke comic book, really, because it came out of the civil rights and Stan Lee movement, and Stan Lee said that it paralleled the civil rights movements that African Americans were dealing with at the time. And now it seems the hint is more that it's taking on sort of the LGBTQ community.
Wait, no, I thought
it
okay.
feels like that more and on top of that, like, when you look at the villains, like what was it, like Friends of Humanity, the way that they're portraying the bad humans kind of seems like a like who's the group, like Moms for Liberty, like think like those types of groups that sound like they're in, for the people, but really they're hate groups. And the hate groups are or the human hate groups are in there, and they hint very heavily at this sort of right wing Trumpist, core, and they're pretty careful, like, to not make it racial, because they make sure that they're like all the bad guys are mixed diversity racially. But the hint is, like, if you look at it, they look and are sort of representative of, like, like sort of insurrectionist types. They look like it. And there's even the third episode, where they spoiler alert, right? There's a UN meeting, a UN trial, and the people after the mutants breach the UN border and the security, and they get past it, and they're all marching in there and stuff like that. And I'm like, this sounds like something very familiar. And just the way that they're talking, so much parallels. And I'm online a lot, reading lots of social media posts, and the way that they're talking about the mutants on in the X-Men reminds me so much of what I hear people talking about transgender people. Oh, they're freaks, they're this, they're not, we need to stand up, they're taking over, the liberals and the woke mob are taking us over. And those exact sentiments are being said in the show. Oh, they're taking over, they're going to ruin humanity for us, they're going to oust us, we're going to lose our place in society. So the very, very similar things that you read on social media about certain people, like, you're hearing that.
What? I'm still confused with what side you're on this.
Oh, no. Obviously, look, I'm obviously I'm being facetious when I call it woke men.
Okay, I'm like,
but,
were you starting to wonder where he was on January 6th for a second there?
For a second, they're like, wait a second, you sound like you're having a hard time with this. You were gonna jump in, Cynic?
They included Sunspot, which I thought was a great character. To throw a little nudge someplace else, I think it was Screen Crush did a video of 75 episodes of the old show in 35 minutes. And it just amazed me about the amount of content that cartoon actually went through in, a half hour's time. As a comic book fan, they touched on just about every major X-Men storyline that there was, or at least a bunch of the other groups and characters that you wouldn't really know about, and focused a lot on the Juggernaut. So, I'm kind of sad that we're only getting a short run and we're only getting a couple episodes at a time. I really do hope that they continue on with this project, because I'd like to see where it goes. Yeah,
well, I guess, so then I guess we'll jump into our, final thoughts, which I think you started that up. So, Cynic, why don't you give us, like, I'm guessing you're going to keep watching it. So,
absolutely. Yeah, I'm all in on it. I only realized that there was 2 more episodes today. That's why I was asking how many we were going to cover, because if not, I was going to watch the other 2 before we got on. But yeah, I'm down. I want to see what happens. And I was just seeing that Ross Marquardt from The Walking Dead actually got a role in it, so I'm excited to hear what he does with it. Oh, and to go back to what I was watching, I forgot to tell you that we finished off the Rick and Michonne and The Ones Who Live, and it was fucking fantastic.
Really? Okay.
So we got to talk about it at some point.
Yeah, definitely. Justin, so you're gonna keep watching?
Absolutely. I loved it.
Yeah.
But Ryan, you didn't tell me whether you agree with me. Do you not see all the sort of modern political social undertones?
No, I definitely do. It doesn't bother me. And that's
it's not about bother.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's like, I do, and that's what the X-Men's always been. Like, whether yes, it started as civil rights allegory, but there are definitely parallels to any struggle, and whether and very much parallels to the LGBT Q struggle. So, like, I could definitely see the parallels. I could definitely see that they're emphasizing that. And I'm glad again, that some executive at Disney didn't see Morph's character and say, people are kind of upset with this stuff. Let's pull it back. Like, I'm glad they did it because we need that, and like that's the character. And nobody complained when it was what's your name? What's the blue character? The Jennifer Lawrence Mystique. And no one complained about Mystique, so we're good.
Yeah, but the cool part about Morph is he's actually morphing into mutants that aren't on the show. Yeah. So that's kind of cool to get.
Is a nice.
It's almost like a little cameo
egg.
Yeah.
No,
that's great.
There was one funny moment where where it was so predictable. And look, it's a little bit of a spoiler, but it's not really. If you know the X-Men, like there was one point where I think it was like Beast was talking and something happened. He's like, "There's only one person so maniacal, so evil, so." Do you think what word is he going to use to describe next along that line to describe a villain? Come on, you had to see it coming. Well, you'll see it coming. I won't say it. It's just so obvious, who he's going to say, and of course he does. It was like you could read the line, but you'll see. You haven't gotten there yet. Okay. You'll see it.
All right.
So.
All right, cool. So now
a little foreshadowing.
And then my thing, I think it's great so far. I love the animation. I think the story is really good. It's mature, so it's like it's made for us, right? It is. Like it was made for us as teenagers, and now it's made for us as far beyond teenagers at this point. But I'm enjoying it, so I'm definitely gonna keep watching it, and highly recommend it. Whether if you're a fan of the X-Men, if you're a fan of the animated series, initially, it's a good show. Totally worth watching. All right, so let's get to our second review, which is the Iron Claw. So the Iron Claw tells basically the mostly true story of the Von Erich family, which, for us growing up as pro wrestling fans, I know pretty sure we were all aware of the Von Erichs, and just one of the most tragic, family. It was like they were cursed. And what's crazy is if you watch this movie, like I watched it with my wife, and she didn't know anything about the story. And like it's crazy that this story has to pull back on some of the insanity and horrible stuff that happens to them. Like there's even worse stuff that happens that they just don't include, which is crazy. But I guess my first question, and I'll start with you, Cynic, is did you come into this with a lot of knowledge of the Von Erichs and just what the family had been through?
I knew that stuff had happened to them. I didn't know it was to that extent in kind of succession. And I knew that there was a curse around them, that was the talk of we as wrestling fans, most of it was WWE, but I did actually see some of their like AWA stuff and stuff from down there on ESPN, but I wasn't able to follow it because we never kept other organizations on TV in the Northeast. Exactly. But I did see some of their matches, so I remembered who they were. I knew that there was some buzz around, bad things happening to them, but I didn't know to that depth.
Yeah, and you knew Justin, right?
Yeah, I knew. Yeah, I knew all the tragedy that had befallen the family.
Yeah. All right. So we'll get to our review. So we're going to start with the story. I'm going to say before we start, let's save your thoughts on casting for performances. So don't mention, let's not mention, because there's a lot to talk about with some of this, with some of the casting. So let's save that for when we get to the performances. But let's start off kind of talking about the story. So kind of like any true story, this takes liberties.
Sure.
To me, I feel like it wasn't too bad, but like Justin, do you feel like they did a good enough job kind of dramatizing the story without taking too many liberties or making it seem too fantastical or unrealistic?
Yeah, I think I'm totally fine with the totally fine with the stories. I think it told what it had to tell for the breadth of what's went on. I think it hit it fine. I know that it went very quick with certain things, right? Because it's a movie, it's like one tragedy to the next, and it just happened. Which in real life it wasn't exactly like that, but it almost was in a weird way. Like things did happen for real life. They were happening very quick. Yeah. One thing I would have liked, and I think that would have been a nice for the backdrop, is it just doesn't touch on at all the influence of like Vince McMahon and the WWF at the time, WWE, basically buying everything out and taking it. But it would have been nice to have just like if they touch on it at one point in the sort of in the very end. But I think that for non-wrestling fans, just to know the radical shift in the wrestling industry, because wrestling is a big part of the movie, would have just been nice to just when there was that big part later in the movie where it's like, do I sell, do I not,
Yeah.
and and there was a beef between Kevin and his father, and saying, "Oh, you ruined it." There's this like with not including I thought was important information for viewers that were not knowledgeable of wrestling, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Like as far as what I would have liked to have seen in the in the story a little bit more. I think it would have helped a little bit.
I would disagree a little bit there, just because I think I feel like there was a lot of story to cover, which is part of my next question. There was a lot to cover, and yes, the Vince McMahon takeover is an interesting story in and of itself. But that's the thing, is that's a story in and of itself to tell. That I think it would have just made this story more convoluted if we had to go over that whole thing. But Cynic, Justin touched on it. Like, this family goes through a lot of tragedy, and there's a lot. Each tragedy in and of itself, you could write a whole movie on just that. Do you feel like the movie kind of falls under that weight of like trying to get to each point? So do you feel like it doesn't spend enough time on each thing because it's like, oh, we got to get to this tragedy, we got to get to the next tragedy? Do you feel like it just kind of the pacing was off?
Well, we're looking at almost 2.5 generations of Von Erichs in this movie. From the father all the way to the very end with the sons. So we're looking at that's a lot of time to cover in a 2 or 3 hour movie. So I mean, the pacing did make it feel like a Von Erich snuff film. It really like it hits you in the feels that it's not just, hey, all these characters that we introduced to you and that are all great brothers to each other, don't get attached to any of them because they're all on their way out. It was worse than a Game of Thrones episode.
Seriously.
Like, it was the Red Wedding with Von Erichs. It was super fucking bad. Well, but just touching on what you guys were talking about before, if you think about it, what Vince McMahon was, what he did was genius. I come in and I pilfer all your stars, and then I wait till you're not making any money, and then I come in and I'll make a lowball offer on your territory because you're probably in the red now. That's fucking insanely genius.
Evil, but genius.
Yes.
But that's where, like, there's and I don't know how this is going to work now with Vince McMahon, being, just like persona non grata at this point. But like, that's that's a whole story in itself, is the Vince McMahon takeover of the territory system, and how, we got to the world we are today, it's the WWE and everybody else. So I think that there's nobody, the next competing organization is 3 levels below the WWE. And now that they've teamed with the UFC, they're doing an event at the Apex now. Wow. I think it might be the first live SmackDown or something. They're doing it at the Apex. Crazy.
So, they're a world power at this point.
Exactly. It's funny you mentioned it's like Von Erich snuff film. My issue again with the story was more just, it almost felt like a Wikipedia entry to me. Like, I kept thinking about it like that, because it was like, okay, we got to hit this point, we got to hit that point, and so it felt like the pacing for me was a little off. Like, I feel like there's a world where you focus the movie around one of the tragedies, and it means a little bit more. Like, if you make us aware of how bad things are, but we're focused in one point in time, I think that might have been a little bit better of a movie, because the pacing here was off, because you're traveling like 2.5 generations. You're going over 20, 30, 40 odd years of this family and their tragedy, and it's like there's so many things that happen to them that it's hard to give everything equal weight. And I'm going to ask this a little bit more when we get into the feels, because that's another issue, is how it handles some of these tragedies is weird. But let's get into performances, which may be like the largest issue I had with this. So I'll just ask you first, Justin, what were your thoughts on the casting?
I really liked it, and a lot more than you did, and where are you like? And I know where you're coming from. Like, where are you going to find a bunch of 6'3" muscle bound guys that can all act really, really well? It's like, I don't mind, like, if you're going to find Kerry Von Erich is a hulking human being, right? Like, look at him. Where are you going to find that's outside of a Marvel movie that can really act? It didn't have a response, like, look, there's a few of them, but it's tough. No. Like, I didn't mind the casting as much as you do, and I knew watching it that it would bother you. But for me, it's like, I get it. It doesn't. That wasn't the emphasis of the movie to me. So I thought that the characters did a good job acting. right? Even if you felt that maybe they look, it could have been better to have these more hulking figures that were more representative of what Von Erichs really looked like and felt like. But for me, it didn't bother me, and I thought that everyone did a good acting job. I thought the acting was really good.
How about you, Cynic? What were your thoughts?
They're a unique looking family. I just don't know where you were going to find people.
Yeah.
Acting over likeness is what I'll say. Like, give me better acting compared to likeness. I mean, yes, they did do Jeremy Allen a terrible disservice, giving him a role that was probably a foot shorter than he was. Yeah. But was he great in the role? Yeah, he was great in the role, so I'll buy it. But it was like mini me in a lot of ways, because that the Texas Tornado was huge.
He was monster.
So and him standing next to the other taller guys didn't help.
Did not help it. Yeah,
they need to put some lifts in his boots or something, or boot for that matter, I guess.
So okay, my issue actually is, okay, I think there's a couple things that they could have done to fix it, or to solve it, and all within the movie. So I think that the first issue is they look, if you looked at the three brothers, right, when they're doing their promo photos, they kind of fit the Von Erich look. The issue is they probably should have cast other wrestlers that were smaller. So like when they're around, so the thing is, like when they were around, so you have these guys that are larger than life, right? Like in real life, they're larger than life. And so knowing that, like, yeah, I can suspend disbelief, but I feel like they should have done they should have gotten the Tom Cruise treatment. Like, put people around them that are a little bit smaller to at least not make them look tiny. Because there were moments where they just looked like average size. So I think that was the first part. The second thing is, my bigger issue is I don't think you needed to recast them. I think that they roles should have been swapped. So at the end of the day, like, Zac Efron, he did fine, but as the lead, I don't think he worked, because this movie focuses on his character. Was it Keith or David Von Erich? But he's the lead character, and I don't think he had the range to pull it off, because every time he was supposed to like emote, he just kind of had this look on his face. It was just a look.
Yeah.
Like he didn't draw the emotion. So right. So to me, right, he was built like the Texas Tornado. Like, he was jacked. Yes, he's not the tallest guy in the world, but he was in incredible shape.
You stand him next to Jeremy Allen White, and he'll be the tallest guy in the world.
Right? Yeah. So like, make him the Texas Tornado. Like, he should have been. Jeremy Allen White is a fantastic actor. I mean,
he's a better actor.
A fantastic actor. He should have been the lead, because he is a guy who does have range, who can emote, and who can play that. We've seen him in roles as Lip, in Shameless, in The Bear. He's a guy who can pull emotion out of you. I mean, he's great at that, right? Like, we've seen that. So he should have been the lead in this movie, and then Zac Efron should have been the Texas Tornado, because A, he didn't need to have that range, and B, he looked like it. And so that, to me, was like, that's the easy fix, right? It's just, if you swap those two characters, you've got no complaints from me on the casting and on the how it looked. And so I think that was a bigger issue. Yeah.
I think it's a matter of star power. If this movie would have happened 2 years ago, or 2 years from now, Jeremy Allen White would definitely be the lead, because he's the bigger actor.
Yeah.
But when this project started, Zac Efron had the bigger name. So I think that you probably wouldn't have been able to sell the movie without Zac Efron in the lead.
Exactly. So that's the thing. So I think, and it wasn't bad. Like, I'm not going to say, Zac Efron was terrible. He's not bad in the movie by any means.
Good.
I just think that, again, for a movie that was all about that character and how, he's reacting to just everything that happens to him, I don't think he was quite right for that role. And I think that, again, you have an actor in Jeremy Allen White right there who can do that. And also you have the look. So I think, again, like, my whole issue with the size and their look, I think, is fixed by that. But you're right. Like, it's not, not something you could really do with it, at that time.
Just a quick point before we move on. Going back to what we were just talking about, now they cast a guy to play Ric Flair. He looks like Ric Flair, but he doesn't sound, or can't act. It doesn't sound anything like Ric.
That was a strange casting.
So I mean,
like, he had a couple of the mannerisms. Weird.
Yeah, it was not good. But besides impending doom, the Von Erich's biggest foil was Ric Flair. Yeah. So they needed to land that.
that was weird because the actor said, and I don't know how much is true or not, that he, there's enough footage, or I don't know if I'm paraphrasing a lot, but there's enough footage of Ric Flair that he wasn't going to do it. He didn't want to do it impressions. He wanted to capture like his essence.
You're playing Ric Flair,
but yeah, you're playing Ric Flair, one of the most like, and at the end of the day, like he's one of the most iconic people. Like they should not, he was not right for that role, or at least he did not perform that role properly. Like he should have, because
they could have went and got Jay Lethal, and he would have done a better job.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
well, where's the director's role in this of saying this is not right? Like we're not.
I guess it's a choice, and they were okay with it, but I think
they were okay with it.
A poor choice.
I'll tell you who I thought did the best acting job was Holt McCallany, who played Fritz. I think he did an excellent job acting. Yeah. He really hit the role. Now, based on reality, he wasn't that harsh of a man. He was actually the big antagonist, I think.
I've actually heard he was worse.
He was that's not what Kevin Von Erich said. He said that his dad was kinder than he appeared, and that it had to be hammed up. There had to be this, and look, I'm sure they butted heads at point, and he was hard on them, probably very physically, but I think they made him crueler and less feeling than he was in real life, is what I heard. Like, I don't know, but regardless, I thought he did a great job acting in the role. I think he was the strongest actor out of the cast, and I think his part was written really well.
He was fantastic in Mindhunter. It's a shame that we're not going to get another season of that. But who would to think, his dream was to win the world title, and they wouldn't put the world title on a Nazi? What a bad character choice if he wanted to progress in the business.
Yeah, exactly. But so actually that gets to my next thing. So now we're gonna get to like the feels, right? Like did we feel something? I think on some levels we did, but I think that the movie missed the mark a little bit on that. So part of the issue for me with the movie also was that some of the biggest moments, right? Some of the most tragic deaths happen off screen. They establish early on that Fritz von Erich wants the world title, and then when he can't get it, he wants one of his kids to get it, and they make a big deal about which kid is going to be the one that will be like the next one to win the title. And this is built up early on in the movie, and then when it actually happens, we don't really see it, so we don't really see him win the world title, and we don't see Fritz's reaction. So I was like, what a weird choice. Weird. So like there was a lot. So like I feel like obviously just from a standpoint of like this all happened in real life, you feel something because it hurts. But I feel like the movie doesn't do a great job of making you feel that, because whenever a lot of times these things happen off screen, and it doesn't cover, like I said, like this moment, like that we should have seen this moment of elation, bring him up to then just pull him back down when another kid dies. Yeah. So I thought that was weird. But like, what are Cynic, what are your thoughts on that? Like, do you feel like the movie did you feel like there were some missed opportunities to really make you feel something in this?
Yeah, I really did. I mean, if you didn't know the story, then it would have took you 10 minutes to figure out that Kerry Von Erich was in some sort of motorcycle accident and lost his leg.
Yeah.
Like they really drew that out. Like it was like, we just skipped over that part and you get to figure that out later. Yeah. Like we didn't put the instructions in the box. Good luck. I did feel that it took away a lot of the weight. Things not being shown, but being told to us, changes the mood and the direction of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, Justin?
Yeah, the same. I feel like the parts where they could have been very emotional weren't, and were replaced by sort of fabricated emotion, like that part at the end where like the brothers meet in heaven, like that. I mean, look, I don't mind the part because it was where Zac Efron's character was Kevin Von Erich was like, there was two ways to look at it. Either they were actually doing it or he was imagining that they were doing it and it made him happy. But it's sort of faux emotion, just like these brothers coming together and it's with this reunion. It struck me as odd. I didn't mind the scene too much, but I didn't love it. And it felt like faux sort of faux emotion. And then finally when he blows up at his dad at the very end, it felt like there was a lot of great moments that could have brought the feels, and they sort of whiffed on that and sort of threw in these ways to like to make you feel it sort of artificially. I don't know. That's my thought on that.
The gallows humor that goes on at my house, I was making the joke like, oh, we got to take care of this little fucking kid now. Then we got to baby this kid forever. Like, could he have grown up into an adult in heaven? Like, I'm going to have to feed this kid and change, make sure he doesn't pee his pants. Like, this is the afterlife for me.
Yeah. Well, there's also one more thing about that they totally missed the mark on, is that Kevin Von Erich and of course Kerry Von Erich had a kid, and they went on to be successful wrestlers, and they don't even mention that. That could have been a nice way to solve it up, like where it comes full circle and they have these kids with a nice successful career, like, and they just it didn't need a lot, but it could have just had a little. It's like, oh, that sort of pulls it together.
Yeah, but can we talk about the selfishness of that decision, where 75% of the family business ends up in mortality? That we're just going to push our kids in that same fucking direction.
I know, that's
funny.
Not
realize
too,
it occurs.
Yeah, that's funny. That is funny. Yeah, no. So now I'm going to skip logic inconsistency because it's based on a true story. It's mostly true.
There was none.
There's nothing. Yeah, like it's pretty solid. Like there's nothing to talk about there, really. But the last topic. So we're going to talk to audiovisual. So I think it was shot well. What did you guys think about how's the choreography? How did the pro wrestling look like real pro wrestling? What were your thoughts on that?
I mean, it worked.
Yeah.
But it also worked on Glow, which is a show that, didn't get nearly enough credit for the work that the actors put in. Which, by the way, Chavo Guerrero choreographed that as well, and he was in this movie as the Sheik, so I'm sure he was probably behind the scenes working it.
Yeah.
Excellent stunt person, actor, coordinator. He's doing it all, which I'm glad to see that because his wrestling career was middle at best.
Yeah.
So I mean, what wrestling we did see, it worked.
Yeah. No, look, I think they did a good job with it. I think it's always tricky watching pro wrestling in movies because you do have, it's this weird thing where it's like, it's fake, it's choreographed, and then they're shooting it. So it's always tricky. Because sometimes you'll see movies that shoot it almost like it's a real fight, some that don't. But I think they did a good job of capturing kind of the essence of wrestling without any issues. Justin, any thoughts on the soundtrack and the music choices?
Great sort of soundtrack. It had nice like old rock and roll, which sort of referenced the time. Worked for me. The choreography, the shooting was nice. It had one thing I liked about it. It had a sort of a golden veneer to the whole movie. The way that it was shot, it felt like everything was sort of shot in the late afternoon, sort of with these nice visual scapes. So, and the wrestling was nice. So, no problem with the technical way that it was, that it was shot. So, I thought that was pretty solid.
Cool. All right, so let's go. So, Cynic, your final thoughts and your rating for the movie.
Yeah, the casting was faulty. The story was good, but I thought it was rushed. Overall, I mean, as much enjoyment as you could take from watching this family be slaughtered, I guess I enjoyed the movie. I would love to see more wrestling biopics, and we were looking at one about Hulk Hogan with Chris Hemsworth, but it doesn't seem like that's going to happen now, which would have been the perfect choice for that character. Overall, I think it was good. I mean, I suggested it to you guys after I watched it, and I would suggest it to most people if they held some sort of interest in wrestling at all.
Yeah. How about you, Justin?
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, I didn't love it. I'm glad I saw it. I would give it somewhere between a 6 and a 7 out of 10. So sort of if you like wrestling, if you're interested in the story, worth watching. It's not it's not a great movie, but it's decent enough. I didn't mind the cast as much. I didn't love the pacing of the story. That was my biggest problem with it.
Yeah. I would say I'm solid, like right there with you. I think I'm a 6.5. I think it's a movie that if you're a professional wrestling fan, or you grew up a professional wrestling fan, or had some interest in it, I would say I recommend it to you, and it's worth watching because it's just such an interesting and fascinating story, and does give you some insight. And like one of the things like when I was a kid, like the Texas Tornado was like my favorite wrestler when I was like in elementary school, and I didn't know that he was he had a shot at the Olympics and lost out because of because of the boycott. Like so you learned some stuff that I didn't know. And again, it is a very interesting story. And yeah, it's like hard to call it entertaining, but it is just so crazy that can happen to one family. And again, that it's not like when you finish watching the movie, definitely look up the real story because it's even crazier and even worse. So definitely if you're a pro wrestling fan, it's worth watching. And one of the better pro wrestling movies. Not that there have been that many that have been that good, but if you're not, there are issues. Like I think it wants to be a kind of awards type of movie, but I think there's some issues with the pacing. Again, I had my issue with the casting, which again, it's weird if you're not a pro wrestling fan. I don't know if you'll have that big of an issue, except that I just don't think that the performance was quite where it needed to be for the lead, but it still was. Again, it wasn't bad. So yeah, it's 6.5, solid 6.5. If you're a fan of wrestling, definitely watch it. If you're not,
Speaking of fan of wrestling, are you guys gonna watch WrestleMania this weekend?
I'm going to try, but so I'll definitely watch Saturday night. We're going upstate to see the eclipse, to try to catch the full eclipse. So I'll try to watch it Sunday night, although it might be on my phone. But like I kind of, I'm weirdly invested in this story, even though I haven't watched, any wrestling except like the Royal Rumble and like SummerSlam last year, and I think WrestleMania last year. But like I'm invested in the Cody Rhodes story, so I definitely will find a way to catch it. And like the whole thing, The Rock's been awesome with it. So this whole like somehow, remember our first episode we talked about The Rock hijacking WrestleMania. Somehow they've turned this they've turned this into like an amazing story. The Rock, his heel Rock has been amazing. Like I don't watch the shows, but I'll go on YouTube and watch the promos, and the promos have been outstanding. So I'm in. I'm gonna I'll definitely check it out. There's an amazing, and not even with The Rock and Cody Rhodes, there's an amazing CM Punk Drew McIntyre promo. Did you see that? The one with CM Punk, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre had this amazing.
Oh yeah, where he was talking about the shoe polish in his beard and the lips in his boots.
And even like Drew McIntyre, like again, I don't follow it anymore, but I'm like, I'll watch these promos, and he's hilarious. He did this. There's one he did where he's like in a funeral home. He's hilarious. So like, I'll definitely find time to watch WrestleMania, and I'll try to catch.
Isn't there a large part of you too, like not to get too into the story, but that hopes that they do all get along, that like they're lifting each other up, and it's not just trying to one up each other?
It seems like they are. Like it's hard, who knows, but it definitely seems like it's not. From everything you hear in interviews, like there was a great Ariel Helwani interviewed CM Punk. It was like a 2-hour interview, highly recommended if you've been following any of that stuff. But like it seems like it's a different locker room. Like they get along more. It's not as cutthroat as it was like when we watched it in the 90s and early 2000s. So it does seem like they get along better, and that they're all kind of in it for each other, and more, like I said, less cutthroat than it was way back when.
How about you, Justin? Are you gonna watch
what?
WrestleMania?
No.
Not gonna check it out. I'll if there's not a good game on, I'll check it out, but only because it's free on the Peacock app.
That's
now.
the thing, yeah.
I don't know if that changes when they go to Netflix and they start trying to do pay-per-views again. Yeah. I think it would be a mistake. During the pandemic, my job stopped charging for a service, and then everybody expected it for free.
Yeah.
Going forward, if the WWE suddenly decides that they're going to start charging for pay-per-views again, I think they're in for a hell of a wake-up.
Yeah, I think they can. I mean, I think at this point, it's bigger than it's been maybe ever, right? It is somehow in the last couple of years become a juggernaut again, and I think a large part of that is the access and not having to pay $60 a month for pay-per-views, and that, like, a casual like me, right? Like I'm not even casual. I listen to Jim Cornette's podcast, basically. Like that's what I follow, and then like I'll look at a promo on YouTube if I hear that it was good. But even for me, like, I will watch the Royal Rumble, I'll watch WrestleMania because it's on Peacock and I get it for free. I will not spend money on it. So I think like and it's become big enough that you do have a lot of people who are kind of casual fans who will kind of tune in here and there. So I think it would be a huge mistake for them to go back to the pay-per-view model, because I think they've got something good going. And again, it's like it's as big as it's been in a very long time. So it would be a mistake, I think, to do that. All right, well,
fine, maybe I'll watch it.
Well, the thing is, though, it's like I feel like you have to kind of be invested in the story and everything at this point to get any enjoyment out of it. But too bad, because I kind of too bad I'm not going to be around, because it'd be fun to do like a watch party or something. But yeah, it should be fun. We'll talk about it next week.
We'll have fun watching the eclipse. Galileo.
Yeah.
Tool.
All right. Well, all of our stuff is at you can find all of our stuff at all the social media stuff. So all the social medias at portable_hole, and our website is portableholepublishing.com. So Justin, until next time,
watch out for the hole.